Rockies, which is the Colorado chapter of Thai Global, which is the largest organization in the world fostering entrepreneurship. We are represented in 48 different countries and 69 chapters around the world. We have more than 15,000 members globally, and here in Colorado we have about 214 members with a network of about 4,000. So this is a little bit of what I just spoke to. We have 5 pillars at Thai Rockies that really help shape how we provide our programming and our opportunities. Mentoring, funding, education, networking, and incubating. And you can see here, this is some of our pictures from some of our events that we host regularly. So, what does that mean? So, what we do is we provide a lot of education and networking and different opportunities for funding for our member groups. We have a whole host of different programming available because our membership group is very wide-ranging. So, we have everything from an ideation stage entrepreneur who maybe has a concept but not really sure where to go from there, all the way up through to senior business professionals, serial entrepreneurs, and investors. We provide a lot of different programming for our different membership groups, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about each one of those, and then specifically go into detail on 2 of them that you might find of interest. So, mentoring is one of the biggest programs we have here. We call it our Mentor Match program. So we have different levels of our membership group, general members and student members, and then we also have charter members. Our charter members are really senior level business professionals. They've either been, high-level executives from major companies, serial entrepreneurs that have raised hundreds of millions of thousands of dollars, or are serial entrepreneurs or investors themselves. And what we do is we are a volunteer community-based organization, so our charter members actually are in the program because they want to give back and they want to provide knowledge and assistance to other entrepreneurs and other inventors, other business professionals, small business owners. So I can tell you personally, before I became the executive director for Thai Rockies, I was a general member for about 3 years. I am also the founder CEO of Microcap Marketing, which is a customized marketing and business strategy solutions firm that focuses on providing unique strategies with marketing and fundraising for entrepreneurs, startups, basically nano through microcap companies. I joined this program, or this group, and I got connected with not just 1, but 6 different mentors in different functional areas. They helped me to really propel my business forward. A lot of people think that the reason why a lot of entrepreneurs fail is because they don't have capital, they don't know how to grow their business. Yes, this is true, but what it really boils down to is their lack of sound business advice. And business advice that we feel shouldn't come at a cost. Again, we are a nonprofit organization as well, so our membership fees really just feed back into the programming that we're able to provide. Once you are a member, none of this is really additional cost. So I had 6 different mentors that helped propel my company forward, several of which now are on my board of advisors. I can pick up the phone, call them at any point in time, and they're always there for me. With their assistance, I was able to, in my first year working with a lot of my mentors, was able to increase my revenue by 400% and my profit by 500% in 1 year. And that was just because I was able to get the right help that I needed. And as a bootstrap budget organization, having that at a 0 cost was a huge additive for me. We also do Mentor Fest, which is similar, but you have the option to meet with, anywhere from 5 to 10 plus mentors over the course of a 2-week period, and schedule it kind of round robin style so that you can get a flavor for different opportunities, different mentors, and also try to focus in on key areas that are maybe troublesome for you in your personal business and areas that can be helped in. We also have our Project Error Suite program at Thai Rockies, and this is one of our new programs that we just started this year in conjunction with Thai Global. We took, so Project Airsway, and I might mess this up, it stands for the All India Road Show supporting women's economic empowerment through entrepreneurship. So, it's a mouthful. So Airsway, and what we did was we took 10 women mentors from the United States and 10 from overseas. Of that, 3 or 4 of our mentors were from our local Colorado chapter here, and we sent them overseas to India, where they worked in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, which is very less economically developed regions, very poor regions of India, where a lot of individuals, a lot of women specifically, don't have access for education or the ability to propel themselves forward in their economic class. And so what we did was we sent our mentors abroad, and we did a micro Accelerator roadshow where our different mentors worked with women across India and helped them go from ideation stage in a very quick crash course, week-long period, and get them up and running. And it was a really successful, wonderful program. Already, the women that we've worked with, we've been able to raise collectively well over $700,000 and provide unique partnership opportunities with global corporations that they would have not otherwise had access to. So it's a wonderful program, and how we're working with it here at home is we've taken this program and this concept, and now we're starting to implement it here locally at home. So working with different women entrepreneurs and women business owners in the Colorado area and helping to propel them forward and build them up. We have monthly Fireside chats that we do where we get together and we kind of talk about some of these issues that are challenging. And this is not just closed for women only, it's men are welcome to come too. So beyond our mentoring, we have a lot of different programming and a lot of different opportunities to get engaged. Funding is probably, one of the most appealing pieces of what we do here at Thai Rockies. We have our Thai Angels group, which we work in partnership with the Rocky Ventures Club. So we have a whole host of different investors within our community, within our Thai Rockies community, as well as our angels and VCs through Rocky Ventures Club. So we host monthly pitch sessions, get-togethers. So usually we have about 3 or 4 entrepreneurs, startups, ventures, what have you, come in. You do have to do a due diligence process, so if you're interested, let me know, and I can kind of explain that a little bit further. And we take pre- and post-revenue, so you don't have to, have a, multi-million in revenue company. You can be, that ideation stage with your patent and some of these other pieces in play. We have, pitch sessions where you're in front of a room of investors, and then once you finish, the investors will then discuss the opportunities at hand. So it's a very, unique opportunity for what we do. One of the things that is great about Thai Rockies is we are a nonprofit organization, and we work with a lot of the major organizations around Colorado. So we don't really care where our members get their funding, just so long as we can help them get funded. That's really the big key piece there. And we don't take a percentage of your equity. We don't ask for, certain level buy-in. Even our Accelerator program, it is an additional cost, but it's, under $1,000. It's really, quite affordable compared to, what we have in the Colorado market. That is our Propel Accelerator program that I'm talking about, and I'm actually going to go into a lot more detail on that program because I think it might be of benefit to everyone here in the room. So I'll touch a little bit more on that in a few moments. And then we have Mach 2. So this is interesting. This is, once you've kind of gone through your first levels of fundraising and you've built your company and you're starting to get that growth stage, and now you're looking for your next rounds of funding beyond the first rounds, and you're looking for that next level, or maybe for your international opportunities, things like that. This is the program that will take you to that next level. It's very important for us that, because our membership group is so diverse, that we're able to offer different opportunities at every stage of the entrepreneurial life cycle. So this is a really great program because, you can kind of work up through the system and you can continue to grow, and there's always opportunities available. We don't just say, okay, you did your Accelerator, good job, thank you, good luck, we stick with you. throughout the life cycle of your company and your entrepreneurial endeavors. Networking is a big thing. It's pretty much majority of what we do. I mean, we are a community-based collaborative organization, so we host a lot of different fun events. One of the cool things also is that we can tap into our Thai global network. So we have a lot of different events that we host across different chapters here in the United States, as well as globally. So we have a lot of different fun networking opportunities that are kind of outside the box for what you would can normally have access to. One of our members recently was having, very similar to your what you were saying about your product, was having a hard time, getting his name out there and getting his brand out there here in Colorado. He was like, okay, it's not working here. He went to a few different other states through our chapters, tried to, see where's the traction here, because he was getting some sales in and he just couldn't figure it out. Well, we worked with one of our other mentors to identify where's the geographical location everything was coming from. Of all places, it turned out to be Singapore. We have a Thai chapter in Singapore. We got them connected. He was able to get a business partner out there, and now they're 3-4 years down the road, and they're quite successful. And sometimes that's how it works. People think sometimes, okay, well, I'm going to start locally. I'm going to start small here, and I'm going to grow, and this is the path that should take, and it doesn't always happen that way. And I think that's great that you're figuring that out now, because it can be very challenging to learn the hard way sometimes. So yes, yeah. We have a lot of fun social networks too. It's important that we don't just always talk business. So on Wednesday, May 17th, we're going to have a fun social get together at Mitsu, just downtown here. So if any of you would like to join, you're welcome to come. We have a meetup group. Thai Rockies is a online meetup group where we list all of our events there and everything that we do. So at any point in time, if you guys would like to come to anything, you're more than welcome. We also have a lot of different fun partner networking events that we host there. We work with a lot of the different organizations here in Colorado, and one of our big missions is we see a lot of the different groups and organizations are working very siloed right now. There's not a lot of communication across borders. So what we're trying to do is break down those silos and make a more collaborative, cohesive environment here in Colorado. So we have a lot of different partnered events that we work with. And education is a huge piece. So we have a lot of different events in a lot of different programs in education. Business for Breakfast is our weekly Friday, every Friday from 7:30 to 8:30 in Denver Tech Center, Innovation Pavilion, which is a local incubator. We're going to start doing a few more downtown at the Thrive Ballpark location, so that'll be coming soon. There we go. But yeah, so this is a really fun event, similar to the event that you guys here put on. Every Friday we meet, we have coffee, we do a little bit of light networking, and we have a different speaker come to talk about different subject matter related to the entrepreneur or the startup environment. This coming Friday, we have a gentleman, Tom Wolf from Morgan Stanley, coming to talk about retirement planning for business owners, and how do you kind of incorporate that into your overall plan in life and how you operate, and also with your employees. We also we've had others, as the Rocky Mountain Communities Group came and talked about program-related investments. We have had different conversations on impact investing. We've had several on supply chain management. The list kind of goes on and on. We also welcome speakers, so speakers in a specific area that have some knowledge to give back. And we make sure that at no point is this kind of a sales pitch. We're not pitching anything. Instead, what we're doing is we're asking you for the speaker to impart their knowledge, showcase their thought leadership, and then also provide our members an idea of who that resource is if they need to go for extra help. So we also have our Catalyzing Innovation events. Oh, and the Business for Breakfast, that is one of the programs that we put on that's free to anyone. It's free to our community at large. We feel like providing a constant education platform and a way for our entrepreneurs to connect is essential. Catalyzing innovation we put on once a month. Those are a little bit more influential individuals in the Colorado scene that will come and talk about different concepts focused on innovation. So our next one coming up will be on May 10th, and it's Sanjay Bhagat, who is a provost professor at CU Boulder in the finance department. He just finished writing a very interesting book on investing and acquisitions and mergers, and at what point exactly does the innovation level in what you're doing impact your abilities and your investment opportunities for the long haul, and talking about the pre and post revenue, some of the challenges that come out of that. That will be a very interesting conversation to have, so if you're around, I welcome you all to please join. We have different workshops, everything from, soft side skills to, in-depth marketing boot camps, what have you, so on and so forth. There's a lot of different opportunities there. We have our Eloquent Entrepreneurs Toastmasters Club, so this is a really fun one. I joined this group. It teaches you a little bit about the soft side of being an entrepreneur, or being able to sell your concept, sell your product. So how do you be a good, different body language cues, speaking abilities, different fun events that we kind of put on every week to get you comfortable. I can tell you, when I first started with Rockies, I wasn't used to giving regular presentations, and I'd have my little piece of paper, and I'd be like shaking up there, and like, and then I started joining this group, and I got a lot more comfortable, and it became fun. So I really enjoyed it, and it's brought a lot of value. And then we have our Young Entrepreneurs, which is teaching high school students entrepreneurship education. I will talk again a little bit more about that later if you guys are interested. And then we have our new program that we're getting off the ground here in the next few months, which is our E2E, which is Entrepreneur to Enterprise. So this is going to be a very fun, different style of opportunity where our different members will have the opportunity to interact with large-scale companies and see the opportunities to work together. But what we've done is we've done a little bit of a reverse model here. So instead of having the entrepreneurs pitch their ideas to the corporates, what we do instead is we have the corporates pitch to the entrepreneurs. We have them come in and say, a lot of large-scale companies, very similar to the government, have specific sets within their budget for working with small business owners and entrepreneurs because they have the innovation. And they have this different way of operating that is very lucrative to some of these large-scale businesses. And so they have different contracts available, they have different projects, they have different scope of opportunity there. So this brings to light a lot of that program. So we invite some of these high-level corporates to come, and they have to pitch to the entrepreneurs their programs and what they can offer as a value add to that entrepreneur, to that innovator. So yeah, so membership snapshot. We have about 214 members. Again, membership levels vary. Our charter members are, again, those kind of C-suite level and high-level professionals, investors, individuals that have kind of been around and have been there and done it before and can really help impart that knowledge. And again, join us, go onto our website, join our mailing list. We have a lot of fun opportunities. Again, we partner with a lot of groups in the state, so we like to put all of the opportunities readily available as resources. We have our TiCon Northwest, or TiCon 2017 is happening next week in Silicon Valley. This is a really fun event that I recommend you guys check out, especially as inventors. This is a really fun opportunity because what we do is we like to showcase our different communities, products, designs, concepts, companies, and it's a really great showcase for what innovation is happening right now in the world. So this is our global conference. It'll be held in Silicon Valley. Again, you can kind of see machine learning, IoT, fintech, security, virtual reality, software design infrastructure. I mean, like the list goes on. It's very Some of the tracks can be very technical, but I doubt that would be a challenge for anyone here in this room. We have a lot of annual sponsors that, back what we do here at Rockies, and I wanted to put this up here just so you can see that, we have a lot of breadth and scope within our community. This is just a small sampling, but, we have a lot of different communities and groups that we work with that allow us to provide this wonderful kind of content and programming opportunities. And then, so that's the first part of the presentation, and I want to stop if there's any questions. I know I'm kind of just ran through a lot of stuff.
What would you say is the typical most common problem when people come in and they have their idea,
Mm-hmm.
their service or their good, to get their business going?
Yeah, I would say funding. Always funding. Yep. Whether it's funding a project or a company in terms of like, a friends and family round or crowdfunding or a Series A round, or just as simple as, your go-to-market strategy and your growth tactics. That is also a very big challenge for a lot of our entrepreneurs, which is why most of our programming focuses so heavily around that. I would say that's definitely one of the biggest challenges. And then we have, challenges that really relate to that, that are unique. Okay, so now you got your funding, now what?
You want to spend the money as effective as possible.
Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, that's a big challenge, especially some of these young companies. They come through and they get really excited and they go, oh my gosh, I just got all these millions of dollars in funding and I'm so pumped and oh my God, we're going to do all the things. Yeah.
Where are they going to find the team? That's kind of the thing that I'm looking at right now.
The team?
Yeah, it's great to have orders, it's great to have that kind of validation.
Yep.
But it's like, oh shoot, I need funding. Oh, I need people to help do these later.
Yep. Yeah, and that's actually a really good question because, there's the traditional way, which is you hire people onto your team. A lot of entrepreneurs, I know myself was included in that list, I did not have the capital for that. I needed the capital so I could go and get those people on the team and pay them to be full-time. So what I did instead was I got a lot of really quality mentors. I put together a board of advisors that each of my board of advisors has a different functional role that would replace another traditional role. So for example, I don't have a CFO, but what I do have is a quality, high-level individual within the Colorado community that is my acting CFO on my board of advisors. I have a different fundraising chair that I have on my board of advisors who is, serial entrepreneur, been there, done it before, knows how to raise money. So, there's kind of different workarounds for that because, yes, an investor will want to see who's your team. Who do you have on there? What's your quality? And it's interesting too because another value of having a mentor or an advisory board is it also lends their credibility. So, as you're coming new into a market or with a new product or something that someone's never seen before, there's going to be a lot of challenges up front because people are going to go, oh, well, I don't know, this is either too good to be true or, where's the sticky spots? I'm not sure, And so that's another very interesting way that you can kind of get around that. I had a similar challenge with my personal company. Really great, again, great mentors. I had one of them tell me, look, this is one of the best things we've ever seen. I wanted to productize a little bit of what we were doing with our company. And they said, this is probably the best model for this I've ever seen. The issue is that you're young and you're a young woman. And I said, wow, that's really heartbreaking and frustrating to hear. I can't fix that. I'm gonna always be a woman and I'm young. And until I grow older, I can't adjust that. And the market is ready right now. So what I did instead was I started to focus. I also started with Rockies around the same time, so I've been developing my thought leadership and my presence in the community. And I've added, a whole host of these really, influential people onto my board of advisors that are in essence lending their credibility to me that say, hey, I stand by this. When I have somebody, a financial analyst from Morgan Stanley, or when I have, my acting CFO is from Ameriprise Financial, or some of these pieces which, they go, oh, wow, these guys wouldn't, jerk us around. If they're willing to take a bet on this, then we should too. That's kind of the idea there. Again, ideally you still want to have those people eventually on your team as full-time, but it's a really great workaround in the meantime. Yeah.
On the board of advisors, how much time will they spend with you?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's actually a good question. So the way that we do our mentoring at Rockies, and this is so there's multifaceted answer for this. So the way that we do our mentoring at Rockies is we say that you can work with any one mentor for up to 3 hours of free mentoring. They're not even allowed to even consider saying, hey, let's work up some sort of agreement. I mean, they're there to give mentoring. And then if you go beyond that 3 hours, you have the ability to work out something one-on-one with that mentor. I've seen it go multiple different ways. I have mentors that have still to this day are like, we're way past our 3 hours. We're probably like 3 years past our 3 hours. And they don't want anything else from me. They're just happy to help. We have other mentors that, they're high level, financial advisors, CPAs, or, lawyers that are like, hey, I will help you entirely for 3 hours, for as much time as I can give, but at some point, if, like, let's say you come in and you're like, we're going to have to rehaul my entire financial analysis, like all the financials need rehauling. At that point, once you pass that 3 hours, you're taking a lot of time. It's kind of expected that you would work out your own arrangement. But I will say that our mentors, they understand where everyone's at. They've either been there before themselves or they've been a part of the organization for a long time. So they're not going to, charge you an insane amount of dollars for something that, and again, that's the purpose, is to establish that rapport with that person first. So that they're not, so that you're not just walking blind into a meeting saying, hey, I need a lawyer for, what's coming up. And then they're like, okay, that'll be, $4 million, please. And you're like, oh, I can't do that. So... but I've also seen it go the other way, where some of my mentees have been like, I'm bootstrapping this thing. I've got no cash. I've got nothing. But I really believe in this, and I want to make it work. And the mentor says, you know what? I believe in this too. They've worked out different deals where they actually come on and they actually are hired on for a percentage of equity, or they agree to. Some of them just want to be on the board of a really cool company that's going to go somewhere. And they're like, hey, I'll continue to mentor and be there for you. Can I be on your board? Or I would say my personal recommendation is to recommend that beforehand, to ask ahead of time and say, hey, would you be on my advisory board? I promise it won't take up too much of your time. Maybe we meet once a quarter for about an hour or 2 hours. I'll provide all the coffee and donuts you want. And, make it something where they can kind of come together and help you, and you very quickly up front tell them it's not going to tax their time. And what I have found is that they're even more involved that way. Whereas if you say, hey, we're going to meet weekly for 30 minutes every week, at that point they're going to go, well, that's a lot of time and energy. And I will say I do have some of my mentors that have done that for me, but I've never asked them for it upright. It was always their offer, which I think is the way that, as an entrepreneur, I found to be the most successful, because you have to ask for a lot of free help. So it's best to let everyone, kind of make that decision for themselves, and then they're more invested. Yeah. So any other questions before I move to the next? Yeah.
Then the membership fee that you showed there, was that for that is a full membership, the general membership fee?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So general membership is, $149 annually, and that includes everything. The only additional program at cost will be the Accelerator program, and that's just because it's a lot more intensive, and it has to pay for the room space and some of these other pieces to it. And we also put on a big pitch session, which I'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, so everything, all your mentoring, your different networking, all these programs are all included within the, even the E2E program. We don't, you have to be a member to join that program, to participate in that program, but we don't charge you anything for that program. Again, it goes to the corporate, because it's the corporate that has to pitch to the entrepreneur. Yes.
So this is a relatively new program, the E2E?
Yeah, so it's really, we haven't started it yet. We're going to start it this year, probably in the next few months. It is a program that developed out of Atlanta chapter for Thai Atlanta. And you know, they were having a hard time with the program or with their chapter because they had a lot of really great innovators and no access for partners and opportunities. There was a huge gap between the corporates and the entrepreneur, and they really didn't understand why. So they decided to create a program that was designed to bridge that gap. And since then, the opportunities that have come out of that have just been explosive. So we see the similar problem here in Colorado is that, you know, we are one of the top 5 innovation hubs in the United States, yet we still have a gap between how we operate, whether it's the entrepreneur to the investor community, whether it's the entrepreneur to the corporate, whether it's the entrepreneur to the entrepreneur. I mean, we have a lot of different opportunities here in Colorado, but we don't have a lot of cross-pollination between the different organizations. So that is a great reason why we decided to.
Do you have any insight into who might be some of the first enterprises?
Yes, we were looking so far at, let me think here, it was Citywide Banks, Liberty Global, what was some of the others that we had? I think there's a few others that I can't think of off the top of my head because we're still trying to gather them in and we have to vet them also as well. That's a big part of our process is that we work with them pretty closely over the course of, you know, a few weeks to identify what are the actual opportunities that make sense for the community. So I don't want to tell you anyone that isn't vetted yet because then we'll, you know, because then you'll know which company's not the good bet. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, so next I'll talk about our Propel program. This is our Accelerator program. So we've changed the tagline. We're more than just an accelerator. We are cultivating gazelles in Colorado. So does anyone know what the definition of a gazelle is? No? For as a term for like an entrepreneur, a gazelle?
Oh, I see.
No. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was like, wait. So a gazelle is what we refer to as a company that is in design for explosive growth. So they're moving very quickly. They're starting to hire on. I think what was it that startups? I'm going to think of the exact statistic, but startups equal about, you know, these little startups for gazelles, the ones that truly make it big, that boom forward, are about 1% of business in the United States, but account for about 70% of new job growth. It's like an insane statistic. So what we want to do is we want to cultivate gazelles because they have the ability to really pull forward and to push forward. And we feel like it is our, you know, our bread and butter and our job to help our companies become that. Where is this? Okay, so don't need to go through that one. So leadership. So this Propel program, we did this a few years ago. We've been running this for several years. It was previously called TRIP, which stood for Thai Rockies Innovation Pavilion Accelerator. It is now rebranded to Propel, as this is a solo Thai Rockies initiative. We decided that with our old program, TRIP, it was focused on getting you pitch ready, which was great, but it really didn't teach you the ins and outs or make sure that you came out of that program ready for investment. So what we've redesigned, revamped the entire program, and now it's focused on getting you investor ready. So we have a really strong leadership team. Jeff Shell, who is one of the co-leaders of the program, he is the president and CEO of TransOne, founder of the Rocky Mountain Patent Association, director of Quandary Ventures. He's a very successful serial entrepreneur. We have Jeff Matei, who is our vice president of Thai Rockies, as well as the president of We School and the president of Japan Links. Additional program leadership support, we have our program manager, Propel program manager, Sharon Larson. She's the person you will communicate directly with if you want more information on this, and myself as well. Bob Nishmathur is our president of our organization. Dr. Love Bajal, he is a fascinating individual. he was one of our very first ever Accelerator participants, and he was able to get $60,000 in funding, and we helped guide and coach him, and he was able to take that $60,000 and turn it into a multi-million-dollar corporation in the last 3 years alone. And very similarly, was having a hard time getting some traction in the United States. He went, took the product to India, huge success, multi-million dollar company, and now he's back in the United States and people are like desperate to get their hands on it. So very, very interesting model there. Keith Larson is our chairman of the board, Global Board of Trustees. Stephen Bradley is another one of our individuals that have come through our programming. He is a TIE 50 award winner, which is a part of this TIE Global competition. So we basically, last year we had 4,000 people apply. They narrowed it down to 100 people, and then finally 50 were awarded. And we had 5 individuals who were awarded of that 50 come from Colorado, from TIE Rockies. And that's like 3 years in a row. So he had some really wonderful, he got a lot of funding out of that. He also got a lot of different partnership deals and other opportunities that came out of that. He also, for our Accelerator program, because he was such a success coming through this, he has written up a Harvard Review-like type case study on his company that mimics all of the different educational components in the classroom structure, so that as you're going through the program, you have a real-time example of someone who's actually been there and the person's actually in the room with you. So you can ask questions and kind of bounce ideas in that way. GP is our chair of our angel group. So he is, pretty robust in his investment opportunities. And then we have Paul Sachowski and Christine Quine, who are also, again, mentors and really great individuals. Again, this kind of goes back to, we're lending our credibility, right? We have all these wonderful people on our leadership team that are part of building this up and that can show the credibility within the market, but also to our partners and our strategic partners. So our vision for Propel in Colorado and TIE Rockies is to be a leader in making Colorado a top hub for entrepreneurship. And we want to do that by leveraging our network, our expertise, but also our entrepreneurial alliances. So again, bringing in organizations like this one here, bringing in Rocky Mountain Patent Association, bringing in, different other organizations around Colorado, Keiretsu Forum, which is one of the largest angel investor groups in the world. What?
You were saying?
Keiretsu Forum. It's out of, it was originally started out of Silicon Valley, and they've started to, when we were working with them to put on different pitch opportunities here and investor opportunities here. There's a whole host of these different opportunities for investment across the board. If your program, or if your product has, for example, a social impact or a, kind of a feel-gooder, do-gooder piece to it, there's impact investing, there's program-related investment. I mean, there's so many opportunities, but not enough education and access. So that's what our job is to break that down and to provide those opportunities. And we want to do that and foster economic growth in Colorado. And again, this is just kind of goes back to what I said before, so I don't want to drill down on it too much. The goals of the program, so we want to increase the probability of our participants and our entrepreneurs to get funded. That's the first and foremost. We want to build a reputation. We're unbiased, collaborative, trusted source to prep Colorado entrepreneurs for funding. So we specifically say that because, again, we're a nonprofit. We don't care where you get funded, just so long as we can help you get funded. So we really are unbiased in that perspective. And again, we're not asking you to give us anything for that. We just want to help. We optimize coaching and learning experience, leverage our community and investor communities, and accelerate your funding timeline is a big key here as well. And then connect you to the different appropriate resources. So this is a 2-month program. There's 5 hours of mentoring as well as advocacy. And then there's 8 hours of classroom education. So an advocate is somebody that champions you through the program. They are a mentor that works with you every step of the way, oftentimes another serial entrepreneur who's been there, done it before, that can coach and guide you throughout every stage of the 2-month period of time. And then when you're there on your final pitch day, they're also up there with you, again, lending that credibility to the community so that they can see that you're being, backed by somebody who knows what they're doing and talking about and lending that credibility. All of our applicants get 5 hours of mentoring with this advocate mentor, as well as with their domain expert. So your domain expert is somebody who is very, very knowledgeable on one of these drill down functional areas. So if you're having a very specific problem with your app design and development, we have somebody that will work specifically on those issues. Or if you have someone that you're trying to get your pre-revenue valuations for your EBITDA factors, that's somebody that we can tie you in directly with. Program overview. So when you get started, you reach out, you meet with our program manager, and you fill out your information on the GUS platform, which is an investor platform. If you're not already on it or you don't know about it, I suggest you look into it. It's very interesting, and it's a way for investors to view your opportunities while keeping their privacy to an extent. So, a lot of times they're afraid to give you that information because they don't want to be bombarded. Well, this gives them the opportunity to still see your information and your designs without, having that access. So then when you get someone that reaches out to you, it's somebody who's actually very interested. Then we have you meet with one of our team members, our leadership team members, so that they can meet with you one-on-one, as this is, it's very important to get a feel for who you are as a person and who we are as an organization. And then you do your pitch screening. So the way that we do it is we make you fill out your information on GUST, which is kind of just like the paper stuff, like, oh, what's my mission and vision? Like, what's my financial model? Like, some of those pieces that, are a little bit more dry. And then your actual application is you come in, usually host them on a Saturday morning, and you come in and you actually have to give a pitch to a room of different leadership team members, investors, high-level business professionals, and that is actually your application into the program. So we pitch and we see where your strengths are, your weaknesses. There's also followed by a Q&A, so it very much mimics an investor pitch session. And we do that intentionally so that we can design. So we ask you for your 1-minute pitch, 1-minute elevator pitch, and then you give a 15-minute presentation followed by Q&A, or 10-minute presentation followed by Q&A, sorry. And then that also helps us to assess the weaknesses. So for example, we had one individual that has a really great product, very interesting. He's about to finish his doctorate, and he has a very, very interesting concept for a product and company. He's already filled out, the preliminary steps for his patent, and he's, we felt that he was just not quite there yet to be in the program, and so he just doesn't have a business background. And so what we want to do is he will be able to apply for the next session, and we've instead hooked him up with 2 different mentors on those key functional areas that he needs a little more finessing. And so he's getting that help now. Over the next 2 to 3 months, he's working with people one-on-one to get himself ready. The program itself costs $995, and then there's a $100 application fee. And we specifically do that because the application fee, we have to do a national background check on all founders. We need to make sure, you're not doing a child's toy and, or a preschool or something like that, and you're on a sex offender, we need to make sure. So we have to be very sure, and you'd be surprised because there are some crazy things that go on out there. And then but what we do say is if you apply and you pay the $100 application fee and you don't get in this round, we waive that fee going forward for the year. Then we go into our funding and our pitch and our investors. So you have 8 hours of classroom education. That follows then into, we really dive deep on that pitch, that investor pitch, and then also the investor packet, so the different financials and the other pieces that you need to have, the different lawyer pieces that you need to have. I mean, really robust. And then we practice that pitch over with the group several times, and again, you've kind of dived deep on some of these functional areas. Then from there, you go into and you're completely GUS ready by that point, you're investor ready, you've got all the ducks are in a row, you're ready to go. And then what we do is we have you do, before we get you out there, we do a mock investor pitch. So you're actually sitting with a real accredited investor in a room, you're giving your pitch, a one-on-one, normally in a pitch session. You have your 15 minutes and you have your Q&A, and then they ask you to leave the room while they discuss the opportunity. This time you get to stay in the room and they discuss the opportunity with you one-on-one. And they tell you, okay, from my perspective, you know, you're missing it here, you're not hitting the mark here, or, you know, this is really great, but you need to focus more on this area. You know, they kind of really help you from that investor perspective to dive deep on some of those areas. We also will have a roundtable session right before the pitch, about a week or so before the pitch, final pitch session, so that you can get access to, again, if there's any final areas that you're having a challenge or a problem with. These are kind of, you know, round robin groups that will help you kind of identify some of these challenge areas and come up with a solution. And then we do our final investor pitch, our graduation pitch session. So that's held on a Friday afternoon after one of our Business for Breakfast events, and we invite a lot of different investors, community partners, potential prospects, clients across the board, high-level business professionals, some corporates, kind of a good mix, and we have you pitch to the room. The winner of the graduation pitch session receives their tuition back on the program, so it's a nice kind of fun incentive to keep you motivated. And then in addition to that, the top performing individuals from the program, and that really means, you know, the truly investor ready, really top performing, will have the ability, and everyone, mind you, can be a top performing person in the program. We're not saying only the top 10%, we're just saying, are you really there yet? And if you're not quite there yet, then we still work with you a little bit more to get you there. They have the ability to pitch quarterly to Thai charter members, as well as to our Thai investor community, as well as the opportunity to compete in Thai global pitch competitions, networking opportunities, so on and so forth. So a lot of access for different opportunities. And then Propel program alumni will also have opportunities to tap into our alliance partner groups to see if there's any opportunities there. This is our judging application criteria, so, where'd it go? So I just wanted to put this in here so you could see the number one piece that we really look at is, are you coachable? You know, we want to see more than a concept, some traction, revenue, clients, users. And again, it doesn't mean that you have to be revenue generating, we just want to see that you've gone, yes?
Now, if someone isn't coachable, I mean.
Yeah.
Meaning that they're inflexible, I guess, and don't want to change. Could there be a situation where someone could come in and take over the business part of it, I guess?
Mm-hmm.
Either they would pay them or they get a significant chunk of ownership.
Yeah.
So the uncoachable person would just become a armchair owner, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
We actually, yeah, we've seen that happen several times before. Honestly, a lot of our engineers prefer that route. They don't want to be the face of they don't want to be the face of the organization. They're like, I just want to be doing my thing in my space. Just let me do this part of it that I'm really good at, and they leave it up to someone else. And that's where a lot of our different mentors, you know, have also, I've lost some really wonderful program chairs because they start working with an individual one-on-one, and they actually end up, and I'm happy that that happens, mind you, but they actually end up going and they'll be like the acting CEO of the company. And it'll become the ownership still remains with the engineer, but then the face of the company, the one who needs to be doing the interacting, the investor outreach, and some of these other pieces is taken over by a different individual. So we definitely have those situations arise for sure. And that's one of the things that we really focus on with the mentoring sessions outside of the Propel program, is helping you to kind of find those right fit people and to find that that opportunity. And then we also, again, we work with a lot of different other partnered organizations. So if you have a very specific need, like I need a CEO who also is very knowledgeable in app development, and really knows the ins and outs, but also from a marketing perspective, that's where we can kind of really work to help fine tune and figure out who those right people are. But yeah, fully engaged founder. So again, not just, you know, hey, I'm just doing this on the side, I don't really care about it. And we're like, no, this is your bread and butter, this is your baby. We want to help you grow your baby. So it's very important. And then unique value proposition or sizable market opportunity. I mean, again, we're not taking only pre-revenue or post-revenue. I mean, it can be pre-revenue. What we're asking for is, you know, if you have revenue or you have clients or you have users, or do you have your patent submitted? Is it approved? That's a huge step for a lot of our pre-revenue individuals, you know, being able to say, yes, I do, I have it ready, it's all done. I mean, that's a big step forward, because then you're not, you know, you're not still fighting the good fight to make sure that that goes through. Now, that being said, if you are in that case, again, that's why we do the application sessions the way that we do, so that we can still make sure that those individuals get help where they need it. We don't just leave them hanging. So our classroom structure, we follow Guy Kawasaki's 10 slides to the perfect pitch. So, you know, very influential entrepreneur and businessman. So what we do is, you know, we follow down these different criteria levels, and then we have our classrooms that kind of coincide with that in some of these drill down areas. So, so that, you know, when you come out of this, you really have all of those ducks in a row that will allow you to become, that will allow you to truly be investor ready. Small sample of our mentors, instructors, and domain experts, and their kind of different functional areas. A lot of these individuals are very seasoned professionals that have been there, done it before. A lot of them are also investors themselves, so it's a great way. A lot of our advocates that work with you through the program are also at that investor level as well. So again, not only lending the credibility, but the network that comes with them. This is our current program schedule, and we're going to have our new schedule up soon, so I can send that, you know, over to you guys, or it'll also be available on our webpage if you want more information. Join our graduation pitch session on May 26th if you're around, if you're available. It'll be a fun time, and you'll kind of get to see a different flavor of, you know, how we kind of do things. Again, I'm a big fan of, you know, come participate in a few different events with Rockies, see what makes sense, and if it's something interesting, by all means, I'm happy to go have coffee and talk a little bit more about some of the opportunities. This is our current participants for this year, or for this first cohort of the year. Idea Jam is actually a very interesting one for this group. They are trying to revolutionize the way that patents are done and submitted. So very interesting there. I can't tell you too much more about it quite yet, but you'll probably, if you join the graduation pitch session, you'll learn a lot. These are some of our, again, a smaller sample, but just some of our strategic partners, so that you can kind of see some of the individuals we work with. We work with a lot of the different other Founders Institute, Galvanize, Innovation Pavilion, Commons. I mean, a lot of these incubator spaces, Thrive. Then we also work with a lot of other accelerator programs and a lot of different investor communities. So, and then that's that for that program.
Does Propel have an extra cost then to get into that program?
Yes, so the cost for Propel is $995, and that's for that 2-month period of time. And then once you graduate, the winner of the pitch session will receive that tuition back. So for one person, it'll be free of charge. And then we also, so once you then participate in that program, you then become an alumni of that program as well. So all future opportunities, sessions, Thai 50 awards, all of that is free for entry, free to participate. So.
Is that graduation ceremony, is that open to the public, or do you have
Yep.
to be a member?
Nope, we open those to the public. Yeah, and we do a fun showcase for that. Because we like to invite a lot of our different partner communities as well and our different other opportunities because there are just so many different investor types in Colorado and different investor communities that, you know, we like to keep it as open as possible. Yeah. Is there any other questions?
What's the most common form of funding?
Yeah, I would say probably the most common form of funding is angel investing, and that's just here in Colorado. A lot of our angel communities are still fairly active, whereas what you see is a lot of our venture capitalist communities are kind of taking a little bit of they're holding back a lot more than they used to. I mean, if you would have looked at Colorado like 5 or 6 years ago, money was flowing. I mean, these venture capitalist firms, I mean, they were just going at it. And then I think, you know, maybe made a few bad judgment calls here or there, or they were a little too open with their flow of funds, and you know, now they've kind of taken a step back and they're really being more cautious on the due diligence of the companies coming in. Whereas a lot of the angels still have the opportunity. I mean, a lot of our angel communities, they're looking at these opportunities as, is this something that I personally would want to buy or own? Or is this something that makes a difference in our community? Or is this something that truly is just unique? And heck, I just want to see where it goes. You know, so we have a lot of those, a lot of our angel community is still very, very active. And a lot of the other partnered angel communities are very active. Again, VCs are very active as well, but they're really, you know, now that they can see what a big win looks like, they're looking for the next, like, Facebook. They're looking for the next, you know, you know, Instagram, Twitter. Like, they're looking for some of these really big, you know, wins. A lot of time they're going to be in the ad tech space, something like that.
Are you seeing any corporate venture capital involved?
Yeah, we are. But I will say, a lot of times that comes in at a later stage usually. So they want to see, it depends on where you are with your company, but they really want to see a lot more traction, I would say. So you're probably, you know, unless you have a wildly innovative, out of the box, never seen before, oh my God, this is just gonna flip the world upside down situation. And even then, it's very risky for them. So they more likely are gonna wait for a little bit, see how you do, see who else invests in, and see what the opportunity is. Again, what's the credibility of the other investor types in your portfolio, and then they'll be a little bit more likely to jump in. I think that it really just depends. But there's interesting workarounds, like I was talking about before, some of these corporates have these different other programming types and kind of these little innovation hubs within their organization that might be an easier way to tap into. Again, you're not looking at, you know, multi-million dollars in funding. You're probably looking at, a few $10,000 to $100,000 in funding. But again, I mean, if you can make that work and be smart with it, it's really kind of that tester to say, okay, let's see what you do with it. I'll give you $15,000. Let me see what you can do with it. And then you can kind of showcase what you can do with that, and then the opportunities kind of grow from there. The private equity investor groups are also very active, but similar. They're looking at kind of some of those more large-scale opportunities. It really depends. We have several private equity groups that are very active within our community, especially with that kind of first-round funding and getting off the ground. One fact that I will say that's kind of interesting that we found is I was originally expecting a lot more crowdfunding and crowdsourcing opportunities, and I actually haven't seen as many as I thought. And we've had several of our members that have had very successful crowdfunding campaigns, but what was very illuminating was the fact that they oftentimes are almost as expensive and cumbersome to put on as they are to actually get funding from. So I think one of one of our members, ManCan, really cool company. They create basically it's a stainless steel growler, but that has a CO2 cartridge attached to it, so your beer never goes flat. and it like, you can travel with it. It's like super cool. I love it. I bought one for my dad and father-in-law. And I have one myself. They're really cool stuff, but he was having a really hard time getting funding for it and getting off the ground. So he did a crowdfunding campaign. He raised, I think it was like just over $300,000. But he actually only ended up walking away with like $120,000 of that $300,000 that he raised because of the cost and the time and the percentages taken out of certain things. So, you know, he said all said and done. That being said, though, where he said the value really came into play was he was looking for it for funding, right? He wanted money to progress forward and to grow. That didn't really work out the way that he thought, but what he did, he grew his users, or his membership base to 18,000 individuals, unique individuals, in 1 month. So if you're looking at, if you've got a cool thing that you're looking to blast out there and get some traction within the market, it may not be the greatest way to raise a lot of money. You'll still raise money, but it may not be the greatest way comparatively, but it's a huge opportunity from a marketing perspective.
Yeah, it's just getting exposure.
It's just getting exposure, yeah, and like mass exposure, because you know you're not having, it's not the trickle of the word of mouth, which, you know, I mean, it's a very different way of kind of approaching that.
I went through that also, and I found out that it requires a tremendous amount of going online and building up your base followers.
Oh yeah.
Twitter and Facebook and all kinds of things. So it takes a lot of time. It's very time intensive.
Very time intensive.
I didn't need my goal at that particular time, but I did get quite a few large investors involved in it.
See, there you go. But see, yeah, it is very, very time consuming. I've done a few myself, and they're just, to be honest, I don't find them very fun at all. I thought I was going to have a wonderful time, and I thought this was going to be so cool, and I put so much money and time into my Facebook advertising and my social media and my other stuff, to the point where like my COO, who lives in London, actually flew in and was like, and came in and knocked on the office, and I was like, oh my God, she's like, you need to stop, like you need to focus on what our job is, you know, and I okay, so we ended up having to hire someone though, which is costly, so.
A lot of them are calling it not crowdfunding, but it's fulfillment funding. So all the stuff that all you're doing is like doing an exchange. So there's a guy, I don't know if he's going to be talking to us or not, but he does the thing called Colorado crowdfunding. His name is Ray, and he has an interesting take on all of that.
Yeah, very much so. I think I know exactly what you're talking about. Very much so. And that's like the other piece of it. I mean, don't get me wrong. These can be very, 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 very successful. It's just there's a lot of time and energy that you don't really think of. It's not as apparent up front. So then you kind of get down the line and you're like, oh my God, like this is very time consuming.
That happens is rather than trying to do it by yourself, of all the social media, is to get a group of at least 15 to 25 people
Yep.
that are your friends and help promote you,
Yeah.
so that they all are online, all are looking, so there's numbers of names rather than just your own name.
Yep, absolutely. Another good way to do that is not only your friends and family, but also think about your different people in your community, organizations within your community. Almost all of our different, or all of these, let's see where, these people. Oops. All of these people have their own newsletters. Our newsletter alone is just under 4,000 people on it within the community. Each one of these has their own similar newsletters with, thousands of people on it. And a lot of them are all, again, we're community organizations, right? So a lot of them are open and willing. You have to obviously make that connection first, establish that relationship. But a lot of them are willing to promote things like this, like a crowdfunding campaign, or if you have a cool article that comes out about you, or you submit something, you can go here for some publicity. That's another fun thing about a lot of these different PR outlets. Denver Post, Denver Business Journal is one of them as well. You can submit, they have a free section in there where you can submit information about yourself. You can write your own press release, and you can submit it to them, and they can choose to take it up or not. Usually they do. And they put it in their business section, and it showcases you in a fun and different way. And again, it's another free resource and fun tool that you can play with, but a lot of people don't know that that's an opportunity or that exists. So different ways to get out there.
I think if you, if you did the crowdfunding, I mean, the non-equity, like the product development and stuff, and you just launch, you're just not gonna get any attention.
Yeah.
Without, really pushing it.
Yeah.
Really in that, about 3 years ago, we had 2 people come from Kickstarter. One met their goal, one didn't. So, and it's probably more difficult now.
Yeah, well, and it is more difficult now, and I think that the problem with that is that there's so much oversaturation with it.
Exactly.
Right.
You
'cause
know?
it was new then.
Yeah, it was new then, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, it's so cool! Oh, I'm gonna go look at this one and that one." I totally had there's one that I'm still waiting for my product. I gave like $250 for a little thing, and they were like, "Yeah, it's gonna be out this."
There's been a lot of delays and that kind of slowed
Yeah.
down,
2 years ago, I gave $250 for these, they're supposed to be earphones that you can put in your ear that, if you're an athlete, so I have a horse and I ride competitively, I'd like to be able to have an ear thing in without having it fall out. Seemed like a no-brainer. I was super excited about it. It's supposed to, and that was 2 years ago. I gave $250 for something that's supposed to cost $50, but I was investing into this concept. Still don't have it, and now I'm you look at the market and there's all these different earphones that are hands-free, or that are cord-free, and I'm like, wow. So.
And most of these crowdfunding groups have actually migrated towards different type of product areas, like art.
Yep.
Or music.
Mhm.
Or things like
yeah.
that.
Kind of specialized.
They specialize in those kind of things, but
Yeah.
at least moved all of their support mechanisms
Mhm.
towards that, because like Kickstarter has, these are our favorite projects,
Yep.
and they put those out all the time.
Mhm.
And if you're not one of those, you're not going to get any attention.
Yep. Yeah. And it is. It's hard to search, and they're so convoluted. I mean, right, unless you're in a showcase or a spotlight, it's going to be really difficult. Another type of investing I think you should think about, if you don't already know about it, is impact investing. So this is anyone familiar with this? Yeah, so it's talking about impact. So outside of when we look at a normal investor, I shouldn't say it like that, but when we look at a traditional investor, there you go. They want to see where's your money coming from? Where's your money going? How am I going to make my money back by investing in you? From an impact investor, they're looking at first, rather than looking at your financials first and your ROI first, they look at what is your impact on a different community or a group or as a whole. They want to see what the impact level is first, and then they look at the finance second. So they're more concerned is what is your social mission, what is your opportunity. If you're doing something with like a water project, something like that, that's an impact initiative. If you're doing something that fits into an education of a community group, that's an impact. If you're looking at, you have a very diverse group on your team, or you're an all-women's founder group, or if you have a women founder at all, or if you have, you're servicing a specific community group, or renewable energy, or something that has a positive impact. There's a whole group of investors and philanthropists who are coming together to understand. Stephanie Gripney out at DU put this together. Last year did Colorado Impact Days, and again, it's all about, showcasing the impact of what you're doing. And there's a lot of people out there, there's a lot of investors out there that are specifically, they're looking for what is your impact in an area that means something to them. So think about it from that perspective as well. It's not just, what can I do that, if you have a product that makes it so that, nothing's, flammable, I mean, that's a huge, huge impact on what you're doing, for different community groups and things like that. and thinking of where that can be brought to, and the social impact that that can have in a positive way. So that's another fun one that we've been exploring a lot lately. So if you're interested, I have connections for that as well.
There's a group, and I think they're out of, maybe Boston,
Mm-hmm.
and they're called WeFunder.
Yeah, WeFunder. Yep, we work with them. Yeah.
They do some interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're very interesting. And again, it kind of does that kind of impact-driven model. It's a big piece of what they do. Yeah. It's interesting.
I'll let you know once I finish talking.
Yeah. No, they're a good group. Yeah, really good.
Is a group still active here in Colorado called SCORE?
Yeah.
SCORE of retired executives?
Oh, yeah, they're with SBA.
Are they?
Yeah,
Okay.
by about 6 months ago, was it?
I
Okay.
actually, back in 1960,
Mm-hmm.
was a recipient of help from SCORE.
Mm-hmm.
And Clarence Rose used to do Safe by Seatbelt Company, he owned it. He's probably long gone because he was 80 years old back then. But at any rate, what I was involved in at the time, was able to go to work for his company for about a period of 6 months
Mm-hmm.
and re-engineer his whole system so that he could get approval by, and I can't remember the name of the group, it's government group that approves all kinds of products so that they're safe,
Okay.
for
Mm-hmm.
safe use. And like Highline, linemen who work with high voltage electricity, stuff like that, window washers, all
Mhm.
kinds of stuff. And from that, he got me into a company that was down in Colorado Springs, which manufactured model rockets, SS Industries.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a great way to get installed, get connected and get with people who have influence and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
this is exactly what Chris is talking about.
Yeah.
I wondered if it was something similar to that.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with SCORE. We do work with the Small Business Association, so I'm not sure. I'm gonna look into that one though, for sure. But it's very similar from what it sounds like, yeah.
Measuring
Mhm.
and advocation.
Yep.
It's
Mhm.
advocating for you and having connections where they can
Yep.
get in and help. You have to go to them, and you have to make a presentation,
Mhm.
basically what you were capable of and where you wanted to go and what you wanted to do.
Yep. Yeah.
I have experience from the East Coast,
Mhm.
I'm from Pennsylvania, and I got some help from SCORE, so. I'm
Nice.
familiar with it.
Very nice. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna look into that because they sound like somebody we should work with. Yeah. Oh, well, that was it for me. I wasn't sure if. Well, thank you.
Thanks for your
Yeah.
time.
Thanks, guys.